Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Focus on Liberia. This is a special edition of Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jar, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition, again, we are live on Prime FM 105.5, broadcasting in Monrovia. We are live with, it is an exclusive interview with Friends of Gonglo Global, that is a group of Liberians who came together to foster the political and presidential ambition of Councillor Tiawan C. Gonglo. The team tonight is represented by Dr. Panedo, who is joining me and right here in Metro Atlanta. Dr. Do, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Dennis, for having us.
And Dr. Do is the Deputy Executive Director of Friends of Gonglo Global. We also have a journalist, Joe, who is also a staunch member of the Friends of Gonglo Global. Joe, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Jar.
And by the way, this is your first time on Focus on Liberia, so we offer you a bottle of water to say, feel at home.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Last but not the least is veteran journalist and also former TRC commissioner who is part of the Friends of Gonglo, Massa Emilio Washington. Massa, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Dennis. A pleasure always.
And we want to welcome our viewers across the globe. Again, this is Focus on Liberia, and we are live on Prime FM. At this time, I switch things over to my colleague, Mr. Prince Momba, who is also on the phone at Prime FM. Prince, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dennis. It's good again to be on the platform tonight, so that our Liberian citizens across the world and other viewers across the world can hear from us here in Liberia, and also hear from you guys in the diaspora as they relate to the growth and development of our country, and all has to do with Mama Liberia. So it's great to be on tonight.
Thank you so much. And I'm on here with Friends of Gonglo. So let me start with the Deputy Executive Director to tell me about this group called Friends of Gonglo, their aims and objectives, and what are they trying to do here. Dr. Do.
Thank you so much, Dennis. It's quite a pleasure being on your show. I have known you for quite a while. When you started early, a couple of years ago, and I think I was one of your first guinea pigs to launch the Focus on Liberia. When you started in the church basement, and then I've seen your institution blossom and grow. Now, regarding the Friends of Gonglo, this is a nonprofit 501c4 organization. It started about 5 or 6 months ago, actually, that brought together like-minded Liberians here, especially in the diaspora of the United States, who felt the strong need to put their support behind someone that felt had the right qualities and credentials for leadership for Liberia. And so the past 4 or 5 months, this group has been meeting. Our goal or mission is twofold. One, to help provide financial support to a young campaign on the ground, as well as to create awareness about the need for good governance in Liberia. So those are the two things we continuously working on. Our membership extends far and wide across the United States, in various states where Liberians are heavily concentrated, as well as amongst non-Liberians who have an interest in seeing good governance in Liberia. So I'll just pause there. That's basically what our organization is about.
Thank you. Let me go to the journalist, Joe. Why Tiawan Gonglo?
That's a very good question. Why Tiawan Gonglo? It's another way of asking, are you satisfied with the ongoing situation in Liberia? What I want Gonglo. The Liberian presidency is for 6 years. So when one is elected, it takes a very long time. So the bulk of the Liberian people, majority, um, seem to be concerned about the downward the trend of our society. Just the other day, we heard that uh, an airline, Airbus, had gone to land at the Rabat International Airport, and the light went off, so they couldn't land. We are the oldest independent nation in Africa, and we are very eager to knock our chest about that. But beyond our age as a nation, what else? So what I want Gonglo, because he has the integrity, because he has the credibility, he has the competence to get the job done. The state of affairs in our country is really mind-boggling. It is troubling. Our nation is going down the doldrums of underdevelopment. So after scrupulously surveying the political landscape of our country, some Liberians from all over have realized that at this point in time, Councillor Tawanse Gonglo is the best person to occupy the executive chair, so that uh, our our country will be given a generational opportunity to move forward. Somebody who believes that public service is not an opportunity to steal public funds. Somebody who has been there over the years with more than 30 years of legal practice as a human rights advocate. So Tawan Gonglo, why Tawan Gonglo? Because Liberians from diverse backgrounds have identified this gentleman to be the best person to occupy the presidency come 2023.
Thank you. And let me come to you, Miss Washington, because to admit I've known you so long and in the journalism, I don't remember you identifying with, and I could be wrong, with any political party or candidate. What brought you to this team?
Yeah, absolutely, Dennis. You're absolutely right. I don't usually dabble in the politics, and I will say here, my association with Councillor Gonglo is based strictly. I'm a friend of the family. He's a brother, a big brother, and mentor. So, if this was the code of law, I would be someone who you would consider character witness. So, while I'm not, involved in his campaign, physically, but as a friend of his, and then as one of those young sisters that he mentored, I would like to put in a word as to why I think he's a better candidate. I
And
will stick to.
before you continue, you talk about character witness. There are a lot of subpoenas going around, but I can assure you there's no subpoena for you as a witness. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I would just like to stick to the facts. Like I said, I'm close to the Gonglo family. I know Tiamon, his family, his wife, his sister, his siblings. I'm very close to them. So I would try to take out my personal, my emotions about how I see him as a big brother and somebody that I love and respect. I would just stick to the facts. So we all know that any empirical research will tell you and will reveal that past behavior is a predictor of future behavior, meaning that people establish history by the languages they use, by the utterances, by the actions and the deeds. So me, for the Liberian people, I am looking at the history that Councillor Tiawonse Gonglo has created. What he has been saying all these years that we've come to know him as a public figure, a brother, a friend, and also what he has been doing. And I'm actually impressed by the history that Councillor Tiawon Gonglo has created. He has been honest, he has been kind, he has been very concerned about his fellow Liberians from across the board, from all walks of life. Tiawon Gonglo is someone who he is friends with everybody from all of the 15 counties, from all of the tribes. He has good friends. He takes out for people. He's pro bono lawyer. He's poor man lawyer for everybody across the board. And he's also concerned about the future of Liberia. So if you are looking for a patriot, a real patriot, that person would be Tiawon Gonglo. When you're talking the patriots of those days who built this great country, people like the founding fathers of the United States, George Washington, all these people, the one who said, "Give me liberty or give me death." When I'm thinking about them, the person that I equate to them at this time that comes to mind immediately is Tiawon Gonglo. So Tiawon Gonglo has a disarming and amicable personality that makes you feel comfortable in his presence. But mind you, though, underneath all that favorite uncle personality and stuff is a man of steel, meaning that Tiawon will stick to what is right. He will stick to what he knows is right. And that's what draws someone like me to him, because I believe in the truth. As a journalist, I was trained to believe that the truth is my defense. In everything I do, I try to aspire to that principle. So to see a Liberian who has been consistently truthful since I've been knowing him as a person, who says, "I'd rather die poor than to cheat the Liberian people, than to work against the interests of the Liberian people, than to hurt the Liberian people." So to see this kind of Liberian, actually, he's a rare gem. And this is why, as a friend of the family and as someone who knows him as a younger sister to him, I think, he's a better person. He's the kind of leader that you would think Liberia needs and that Liberians should really, really look forward to.
Thank you. Dr. Doe, you've been around for a while now, and I'm not doing this agency thing, but I follow you. You have started with the progressive and all that, and now you are here. I hope you are not in this, has a form of a protest, but you actually want to support someone who's going to win. Is Councillor Tiawonse Gonglo a winnable candidate in your view, and why?
Absolutely. I think Tiawon has record makes him a winnable candidate. Just as Massa and Joe said, this is a man with a very long and distinguished track record, an anti-corruption record for that matter. If you look at starting from his student days as a student activist, Tiawon has remained very consistent, speaking about the national issues of our times. And as he grew to become even a professional, working in various governments, mainly the interim government of Dr. Sawyer, as well as the recent past government of Ellen Sirleaf, you can see that all the positions he's held, he's maintained his integrity holding those positions. And then, of course, when he left government and spearheaded the Liberian Bar Association, he also left with a very distinguished record of integrity. So this man also has, cuts across all demographics, all regional geographies of the country. I mean, he's a public figure in his own right. He knows people from everywhere. The constituency that is now building behind him is very strong. Uh, Anyone you reach out to and ask about Tiawan, they will tell you, oh, even though I may not know him personally, but I've heard great things, good things about Tiawan. So if you're lining up with other people in the race on any issue, on any matter, he comes out strong. So the short of the long is that yes, Tiawan will be a formidable candidate in this race. Um, no doubt, because of the record he has that can be placed against anyone. I have known Tiawan now for well close to 40 years. It's since our student days, left student activism. We all started our young adult lives. I probably was a year or two ahead of him. And we've maintained good friendship all throughout the years. And he's not been someone who waver. He's always been a principled person. So some of us are into this. We've been in and out of politics. I have never run for public office, but because I have not found any candidate over the last 3 election cycles that I could really support. But when Tiawan decided to accept the petition to run, some of us felt that we could no longer sit on the fence. It was time to throw our support behind someone we think has the right qualities to bring good leadership to that country.
Thank you. And let me go to you, Joe. You've been a journalist, you follow politics, you watch or follow the elections that brought to power Charles Taylor, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and now Weah. One of the things you hear from the Tiawan side is integrity. And I also follow Tiawan, watch him. He has the broom to sweep bad governance, corruption, and all that. All of the presidents since Charles Taylor, they did not win on integrity. In fact, Dr. Tukpana Tipote carried the same broom, and he hardly gets even 5% of the vote. What is the Tiawan difference that he's going to win with integrity as his core message this time that Tipote or the rest of the people did not do? And then there is no history from Charles Taylor to now, anybody winning because of integrity. What's your response?
Okay. He will win. We are optimistic because Tiawan is not an armchair politician. He has already begun dismantling some of the myths within the Liberian political theater. That is the past New Year, the ushering in of 2022. By December 29, Councillor Gonglo was in Grand Jide County, and he spent 2 or 3 days there. It was in Grand Jide that the son of Nimba County decided to celebrate the ushering in of 2022, because some of the things that people do in Liberia is to pit one ethnic group against another so that they will reap the political dividend. But Councillor Gonglo is man of the people. He had been a serviceable public servant over the years, even before he became a lawyer in 1988. So his the shared diversity of the Gonglo movement. At the moment, we have 29 political parties in Liberia. Some of them are nominal parties. Some of them exist only in the black bags of their founders and standard bearer whatsoever. The Taiwan Gonglo movement is a movement, just as I indicated in a piece that I wrote sometime in November last year, that the Teen Gonglo movement is following the course of nature. That is, as I indicated in that piece of article, that you see a big oak tree that may grow to be maybe 300 feet. It comes from a very small seed. So last year, September 4th, some young Liberians gathered in Buchanan, Grand Bassa County, and resolved among themselves that they are looked at the political landscape of the country, and they believe that Councillor Gonglo is the best person, because the young people that met in Buchanan and came out with the 10-point agenda, they believe that integrity is the political capital that can be utilized for the benefit of the Liberian people. So the councillor himself has been all over the place in terms of his professional performance over the years. He's a congenial fellow. He's very sociable, down to earth. That's why he's able to, even since he announced his candidacy on December 4th, 2021, I will argue that Councillor Tiawanse Gonglo is the most visible, the most accessible politician in Liberia at the moment. He has spoken at so many graduation programs. He had attended so many social organization programs than any other politician. Even the president, the current president of the country, is not as sociable, as accessible as Councillor Gonglo is at the moment. So that alone speaks for how it presages the 2023 election. We are going beyond the superficiality. Liberians have now begun accepting substance. So his support cuts across the country. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Let me go to Massa, and then Prince, I'll bring you in to ask your question. Massa, here is my question, right? Because what will it take for someone to win the presidency? And let me give you an example. For Charles Taylor, he had the biggest gun, he had the charisma. President Sirleaf came with the being, if you had to compare her with, she had the experience, and she was the first female, the Iron Lady, and all that. George Weah came with the popularity. Tukbana Tipote came with integrity, he did not win. H. Bowman Famuled, the late Dr. Marcus Dine, all these people, they came with this integrity, they came with the message, they did not win. What is Tiawan going to do differently with this same integrity issue that's going to put him on top?
I think what makes Tiawan stands out, in addition to those qualities of integrity and what have you, is the trust factor. Liberians feel that they can trust him. For the first time in a long time, when you mention Tiawan's name, even the opposition, I listened to someone from the opposition bloc the other day, a staunch member of the opposition who was giving his talk on the talk show, and he was actually cautioning his fellow partisans, saying nobody hammered Councillor Gonglo, nobody insult him, nobody, you just leave him alone. He's a good person. Everybody leave him alone. Whereas you see the rest of the people, they're just dragging them to the mud. So Tiawan has been able, in addition to establishing the integrity, he has established this thing called trust. You want to trust the person you're going to put in charge of the country. You want to trust the people you work with. Dennis, I want to trust you. I want to be able to trust Dr. Joe. I want to be able to trust Joe Batra. So trust is a major factor here. And then
but is that how Liberians vote?
But Dennis, you see, times are changing. Okay. So I think it would be unfair to hold Liberians are evolving. Liberians are evolving. So because they didn't vote for Dr. Tipote the last time when he, quote unquote, according to you, ran on the basis of integrity, because they didn't vote for him. maybe there were other things with Dr. Tipote that didn't resonate with the voters, and times have changed. So just because people didn't vote the way that we thought they should have voted the last time, it doesn't mean that they will not surprise us. They will not pleasantly shock us this time. We have to look. It is our duty as civil society and people who are supposed to be the ones with conscious, educated people, patriots who want good for Liberia. It is our duty every time to present our country and our fellow countrymen with the best option all the time and let them make that decision. So tomorrow, nobody is going to say, "Oh my God, we didn't have any better candidate to choose from. We didn't have proper alternative." Like Liberians always say, "Oh my God, we always have to choose between the lesser of two evils." No, this time you have a choice. You have an alternative. You have a very good candidate this time. So let's give the Liberian people the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes we can't just say, well, they voted for Theater, they voted for We Are, all these different people. They saw different things in them, but times have changed so much. So, hopefully they get it right this time.
Thank you. Prince?
Dennis, since you mentioned Dr. Chipote's name, if I can add to what Massa has said.
Yeah, 1 minute, please.
Okay, considering the historical reality of Liberia, Dr. Chipote is one of the victims of the hegemony of the old order. So what if, for example, in 1973 or 1972, Dr. Chipote, fresh from the United States as the first Liberian PhD, had been given a young professor at the University of Liberia? What if our political system had been pluralistic at the time? Dr. Chipote would have probably been president of the republic. That's why when certain people who don't know much about the contemporary history of Liberia try to discredit the progressives, I frown on that, because at this time, where we even have a Weir as president of the republic, is a tribute to the activism of the progressives. Because during True Party time, it was your last name that determined where you were, what position you got in spite of your competence, your qualification at the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Prince?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah, go ahead if you have any question for the guest.
Yes, I have question for the guest. Let me once more say welcome to the show. The team Untitled Chapter there in the diaspora. So I have questions. The first one, let's begin this way. Tiawan comes from Nimba County, and Nimba is the second populated county in Liberia, and it is believed in Liberia and other places that Senator Johnson remains, or he is the godfather of Nimba. So we need to say any politician in Nimba, before you have that faith, you must align with Senator Johnson. But here, they're not cool. What is their faith that with the current relationship between them, the bitterness between them of just yesterday, he was on his back, that you're not going to sit in the road and decide what happens in Nimba. So how you think he can win a county as Senator Johnson still remains the godfather? That's the first one.
Yeah, let's Joe take that one. Joe, how does Tiawan get to the presidency without going through Prince Johnson?
In 1980, there was a change, a sudden change in the structure of governance in Liberia overnight, and one of the claims made by the coup makers was that the True Party had been a so-say one, so-say all for more than 100 years. And then, of course, 1981, December 25th, the late Dr. Sawyer and 24 others were commissioned by the PRC, the People's Redemption Council, to draft a new constitution And of course, we have a new constitution enforced in Liberia now, which basically has declared Liberia a pluralistic democracy. As I indicated first, there are 29 political parties in the country at the moment. And one of the founders, standard bearer, happened to be Senator Prince Johnson. He has a political party. I think they call it a Movement for Democracy and Reconstruction, something like that. But the Gonglo movement transcends any political, parochial, political cleavage. So Gonglo himself personally has no problem with Senator Johnson. Just as I have indicated, he is one of the most congenial, sociable political leaders in Liberia at the moment. While it is true that Councillor Gonglo belongs to the Liberian People's Party, it is also true that his movement, the growth, the soaring of the movement, how it resonates with the Liberian people, potential voters, transcend Nimba County. Gonglo is taking his appeal to the 15 political subdivisions.
So basically, it doesn't need Prince Johnson. Is that what you're saying in essence?
Senator Johnson, he himself, I know he in 2023 he will be offered election, or maybe possibly re-election. In the past, he had run for president. We don't know his intent at the moment, whether he will be seeking the presidency of Liberia or he will be seeking re-election as senator. But the people of Nimba County, our democracy, as I think Massa alluded to that our democracy is evolving. Because it is evolving, our people are beginning to take a stance.
Thank you.
In November last year, there was a by-election held in District Number 1, the district that has a Ganta, its main city, in Nimba County. Senator Johnson took about $50 million Liberian dollars from the CDC. He went on all the radio stations in Nimba County, and he presented Professor Francis Mawan as his candidate. And there was another candidate there who was an independent candidate, Samuel N. Brown. And what happened? The people of District 1 spoke. They got to know that after the 2005 election, they too needed to take a stance. They needed to be on their own. They showed to the Liberian people that there was no Moses anywhere that was to just signal his staff somewhere for everyone to follow. So I believe that the people of Liberia, from the 15 political subdivisions of the country, when it comes in 2023, they will see the light for themselves.
Thank you.
They know that they have been trying big names in the past, whether it's Harvard education, celebrated. This time, the Liberian people want to try integrity. They want to try credibility. So,
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Back to you, Prince.
Yes, so thanks for the answer. So from what I'm getting there is that I do not think, I mean, at least you do not need Senator Johnson to win Limba or to win Liberia. So the next question is, our law provides that a presidential candidate, a presidential candidate receives 50 plus 1% of the total vote cast, which makes it difficult for us to just have one round of election in Liberia. So the 2023 elections, if it goes to the second round, and your candidate is not the two tops, who will you be advising, Chairman Gonglo, Councillor Gonglo, to support? What side would the team be leaning? Don't assume the election ends between the Unity Party or Bwakai and the CDC, or the Kumis and the CDC, or any other political party, and the ruling party, what side will your team be landing? What will you advise a political leader?
Dr. Doe.
Well, let me say that, you know, Taiwan is in this to win, but he's not so obsessed with power that he's not able to collaborate or work with other political organizations. I want to say that we should not put the horse before the cart.
Mhm.
I know the pattern and trend in Liberia since the last 3 election cycles is that there's always a runoff. There's always a second time. No one political party is able to pull off. Historically, that's how it has been for a while. But history is not static. Politics is not static. As my colleague Massa said, a lot has evolved in Liberia. The dynamics have changed.
Mhm.
Yes, in the last 3 election cycles, we had to go for runoffs, and there was need to work with other political groupings. But this is not to say that come 2023, there will be a runoff. I know we have an incumbent that has full control over our state resources, and they're doing everything to bribe individuals and political institutions to ensure that they win this election. But clearly, I think the Liberian people have seen well through that. And I am not sure they want to go that route for the second time. Because just a few days ago, I was reading a survey report from a Pan-African based research institution called Afrobarometer. They conducted a survey a few months ago in late 2021, and they posed the question to Liberians as to how they felt about the direction of the country. 80% of the response they received was that the people were not satisfied. They want democracy, but they were not satisfied with the direction of the country. So that suggests to me that they don't like the way the affairs of the country is being run. And come 2023, if they go to that ballot box, they have to deal with their own consciences. Do we want this country to continue on the trajectory it is right now, or do we want to try an alternative? And we do have an alternative in Taiwan Gonglo because of his track record, as you've heard from my colleagues.
So Dr.
So
Doe,
I will not discount the fact that this election could go one round.
yeah.
It could go one round and not necessarily 2 rounds.
So Dr. Doe, what has Councillor Gonglo identified as the major problem of the country, and how does he intend to fix it?
Thanks for that question. Councillor Gonglo has, I think you heard from Mr. Batwa, that this is the most visible politician, public figure we have at this point in time. You constantly see him engaging the media. You constantly see him making speeches to various institutions across the country. Now, Councillor Gonglo has put out there a 10-point plan called An Agenda for Better Liberia, of which Batwa was one of the crafters of that plan. The plan addresses all sectors of our political economy, from the judiciary to agriculture to education to health and so forth and so on. So that plan is out there. It's still being flushed out. It's still in its full developmental stages. But one of the first things the councillor intends to do, given his background as a lawyer and a student of law and politics, is to review all to go after corruption. We've heard so much about corruption from governments that have come and gone. We recall how the popular phrase that Ellen used one time, that corruption had reached its vampire stage. And we know what a vampire is. You know, there were a lot of rhetorics about corruption. Under the Ellen regime alone, if you recall, more than 40 audits were conducted by one of the integrity institutions, GSC, under Mr. John Marlowe. None of those audits, none of the recommendations that emerged from that audit was ever implemented. Nobody went to jail. Nobody was prosecuted. And those audits are still on the shelves, maybe in the GSC, gathering dust. The gathering dust. So one of the first things, if Councillor Gonglo, God blesses him to become president of that country, he's going to review all of those audits and look at the recommendations that are in those audits and take some deliberate action on what needs to be done. It's one of the first things he intends to do in his 10-point plan. A second thing, I know Batois and Sis Massa will come in. Second thing is to ensure that the Liberian judiciary is maintain a level of independence without influence from the executive. I mean, we've seen how cases go to court. We don't know how eventually end up. The culprits usually end up going scot-free because of some influence coming from higher authorities and what have you. Under a Gonglo administration, he will ensure that the separation of powers exists amongst the three branches of government, that the judiciary maintain a level of independence that we've never seen before, because you heard that he's been practicing law for 30 years. So he knows the inner workings of that branch of government, as well as the inner workings of the executive. Okay. So he will ensure that the judiciary maintains its independence. It's not influenced by any higher up from the executive whenever decisions are made. Similarly, he will ensure that the work of the police is carried out as it should be, without a lot of interference coming from lawmakers, from any members of the judiciary. I will stop there, and I guess as the conversation proceeds.
Thank you, Theo. Prince.
Yes, let me add one more, then turn things over to you. So I'd like to also know from the team in the studio, the issue of disadvantaged youth in Liberia is a challenge. All across the country you go, you see disadvantaged youth. Most of them on drugs. This is a challenge that any government will face. And then the issue of insecurity, mysterious death all across the country. How does Gonglo's leadership intend to address this issue? I mean, if he is elected as president of Liberia.
Thank you. Massa or Joe, you want to take that?
No, absolutely. I will definitely take that. So the question that the producer in the studio is asking is a question that borders on the general concept and principle of human rights. So now, all 13 chapters of the 1986 Constitution of the Republic of Liberia and its subsequent 97 articles, the foundation and the bedrock for those 13 chapters and 97 articles of the Liberian Constitution is bordered on human rights. It's all about the human rights and civil liberties of the Liberian people. So while it is split into different categories, you talked about governance, judiciary, this, that, and what have you. The bottom line is all about human rights. Now you have a candidate in Councillor Gonglo who is a human rights guru. Now you're talking about the issues of the disadvantaged youth that people like to refer to as Zocos and what have you. These are issues that has to do with the human rights, the lack of appropriate policies to address what has happened to them as a nation. Some of them, I would not say all of them, because like I said, things evolve, things have changed, has shifted over the years. Some of them are direct of victims of the Liberian Civil War. Some of them were child soldiers yesterday who were fighting people wars for them, who people introduced to drugs, who people gave drugs to fight a war, and today they are left by the wayside. Some of them may not necessarily be former child soldiers, but they are just Liberian children who have been, again, victims of the Liberian Civil War. Some of their families have died. Some of them, their families are alive, but they are so poor, the war has made them poorer than ever before. So you need a government that is thinking human rights, that is human rights in scope, that will look at these issues, these social issues, and design social policies bordering around the rights of this individual to have housing, the rights of these young people to have treatment for their mental health, to seek treatment for drug addiction is a mental health sickness. It's a sickness. So you need a government that understands fundamental human rights and civil liberties to be able to craft the kinds of policies that we need that will address these kinds of situation. And there is no other candidate in this race that can speak of really understanding the issues from a human rights perspective than the human rights guru himself, Councillor Tirwansi Gonglo. This is why, for me, it's the human rights part of him that is a big thing for me. Because someone who comes from a human rights background knows what it is to be disadvantaged and his experiences over the years. So definitely, as a human rights or magician, as someone who dabbles in the issue of human rights, who knows the Constitution, he's a constitutional lawyer. He will know what the Constitution says about the rights of each and every citizen of the Republic of Liberia. So he will be in a better position to deliver to the Liberian people.
Thank you. Let me go to you, Joe. And Joe, the political field in Liberia is already crowded, and Councillor Gonglo is coming to the game maybe a little late. At this point, we have now, you see, they say political leaders. The LPP he represents, and earlier you talk about nominal parties or parties being run, is one of the very, very small parties that has not maybe have not done anything for a long time. But one of the challenges here that he's facing is coming to a crowded field, and also the issue of money, resources that people are using to win election. Again, how does Councillor Gonglo intend to raise money for his campaign and get the kind of name recognition and also the party behind him that will make him win?
Yes, that's true. This issue of money in Liberian politics, especially when you're going against a president whose administration has seen $16 billion vanish within a 3-mile distance from the free port to the central bank, 16 billion Liberian dollars. A president who at some point in the very first few months of his administration thought that he was the central bank governor, or he knew better. So he took 25 million US dollars liquid cash to mop up to carry to some kind of obscure place somewhere and mop up the economy. Of course, we are all facing, especially people in Liberia, are facing the disastrous impact of that. A president who, in the very first year of his administration, without declaring his private asset prior to becoming president, was able to construct 17 luxury buildings, mansions for himself. So going against such a president in an election means that this guy is, he has unlimited access to the national coffers. So I will characterize that as the 21st century version of the David versus Goliath scenario. But those of us who believe in the integrity, in the character of Councillor Gonglo are not sitting supinely. That is why on the 14th of this month, just 10 days from today, right there in Atlanta, Georgia, where you are, we'll be introducing a new way of supporting candidates in Liberia. Because in the past, what people did was that those who were seeking public offices went to places and started sharing money. I was not in Monrovia, but in a by-election involving Thomas Fowler and Senator Dillon, I learned that boxes of Liberian dollars were carried by the Fowler campaign. So people who were supporting or pretended to be supporters of Fowler was dishing out money as if money was just as Councillor Gonglo said last December, as if he had a money-making machine. But what happened? When time came, the Liberian people knew that the money that father was sharing, new brand Liberian dollars, after the government in which the party for which he was the candidate in the administration of that party, 16 billion of those Liberian dollars have just vanished. So they took the money.
Sorry,
And they voted their question.
Mr. Batua, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
How is Councillor Gonglo going to find the money if you are raising money here? What are some of the programs you have to raise money? I mean, we're talking millions here now in Liberian elections. How Councillor going to get the money?
Yeah, that's what I was just indicating about the David versus Goliath. So our David is trying to gather his stone, knowing very well that this Goliath in Liberia is an infamous fighter who has fought all around, who has all the resources at his disposal. That's why this May 14, 2022 gathering fundraiser in Atlanta, Georgia is the beginning. Here, the most visible beginning of the support for Councillor Gonglo. And we are hoping that the gentleman himself will be there. And since you live in the metropolitan area in Georgia, in Atlanta, we are hoping that you too will be at the program so that you will see the spontaneity of the support, of the overwhelming support that the councillor at law has among ordinary Liberians. Maybe you followed the December 4th launching in Ganta last year. So we are leaving no stone unturned to ensure that our candidate is financially equipped to take on those political Goliaths in Liberia.
Thank you.
If I may just add, Dennis, to what Joe has just said, we have a big program coming up on the 14th here in Atlanta. In fact, I'm going to come and get you and bring you to the program. So we're launching our first major fundraiser. This is going to be a grassroots campaign. So most of our contributions will be coming from ordinary people. In fact, within our own Friends of Gonglo structure, we have what we call our weekly rallies. Every week, we call upon our supporters, our members, to contribute whatever they have towards that rally. And as we move forward, we're going to be having series of fundraisers across the United States, appealing to ordinary Liberians to support a candidate who is all about good governance, who is all about human rights, and all of that. So come May 14th, all roads lead to Atlanta, where you and I live. And I hope I can see you at that event. And we hope to begin the process of raising money as a 501c4 organization to support our candidate. We're not going to follow the traditional path where one man who have stolen so much billions is able to spend a year there to buy people up. We want to make this campaign one. We want the people of Liberia, the ordinary average Liberians, to own this campaign. Let them own it. So that's our whole goal. We want the Gonglo campaign to be owned by the people of Liberia, by the masses of Liberia. And we are convinced that will make a difference.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia, live on Prime FM 105.5. I'm in a conversation with Friends of Gonglo Global, and we're going to be ending the show. And after this one, we have part 2, which is we're going to be talking about the court cases going on in Liberia. As you may have heard, former Vice President Joseph Numa Boakai is a witness in the criminal case involving Mr. Alexander Cummings. And also we heard about the NEC case, also that the Solicitor General has met with Mr. Boakai. What does this all mean? So we're going to call a lawyer here to break it all down. So I want to thank you all so much for coming. At this time, we're going to go around the room for your closing. But what I want you to mention in that also is, and I know the counselor will be coming to Georgia, as you stated, so you can tell us a little bit more about that program. And one person can tell me again the Gonglo plan or the Gonglo's difference, what you think viewers watching you now, what you want them to know about Gonglo and why they should be voting for Gonglo. And then another person can also tell me what Gonglo is going to do differently, or is he just going to be criticizing? So let's go around the room and get your closing comments for a minute each. Let me start with Ms. Washington.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dennis. What do I think he will do differently from the rest of the candidates? I think he will do a lot, and he will do what people would love to see, what people have been hoping for a long time in Liberia. I think Tier 1's presidency will usher in that real new Liberia that we've been talking about for the past 42 years, that we've been yearning for, that we've been praying for, the miracle that we've been looking for the past 42 years. Tier 1 has the potential, the capacity, he has the good heart, the goodwill, the intention, and also he has the experience to really deliver that new Liberia. So in other words, what I'm trying to say in short is that he will set the new stage for the way the narrative of Liberia is going to look now moving forward.
Thank you. Joe?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Jai. Let's take a scenario where a patient goes to the clinic or a hospital. That patient needs a better diagnosis in order to get a better cure for their problem. So last year, in September 4th, 2021, young Liberians headed by Councillor Jimmy Mumbo met in Buchanan, and they drafted a 10-point agenda for the Gonglo movement. And coincidentally, I too, in November of 2018, I published a book entitled An Agenda for a Better Liberia, a common sense approach to nation building. The coincidental aspect is that the gathering in Buchanan, they identify our inability to enforce or practice the rule of law as a major problem. Corruption, which is very cancer, which is corrosive, is symptomatic of our inability to enforce law. Like Dr. Doe just made reference to 40 or more audits that were conducted during the Ellen administration, and then There was no further action taken. So those who do the stealing, they go around gloating as heroes because they don't bear the consequence. So the Gonglo movement has identified our inability to impartially enforce the rule of law. That's why the movement is saying that during the Gonglo administration, there won't be any executive interference with law enforcement. Like here in Massachusetts, where I am, the other day, just 4 days ago, a state representative was drunk. He was driving, and the police arrested him. We don't do that in Liberia. You see, people who come from Liberia now, they say everybody has convoy. Speaker has convoy, deputy speaker has convoy. They take 3 lanes, and the police is incapacitated to enforce the law. So the Gonglo administration will be it is the Gonglo movement is on a rescue mission because at the moment a celebrity abuse is taking place in Liberia. George Weah is a celebrity. He has big name. He's a soccer icon, but he doesn't have the competence. He doesn't have the know-how to do the job. So Liberians have now identified Gonglo. They are saying to our fellow compatriots that in the past we used big names, we used celebrities. This time around, we want when you go into the ballot to the ballot box in 2023, have in mind credibility, character, integrity. So we are on a rescue mission to rescue the Liberian nation. This is the mission, and we are appealing to all our compatriots who have who are still optimistic about our country, who don't believe that it should continue to be a crooks paradise, to join us. That is our appeal. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Doe, your closing comments, sir.
Yeah, first, I'd just like to say thanks, Dennis, for granting us the audience, giving us an opportunity to talk about the Friends of Gonglo, its activities, and to talk about the personality, Gonglo, who has thrown his hat into this race to seek the presidency in 2023. I want to also say that the Gonglo movement or the Friends of Gonglo is open to all Liberians. We're inviting all Liberians to come and be a part of this movement. We've well past that stage to be cynical, to lament about our problems, but we're reaching 2023, which will be a very critical period because the country is on the decline. And we as Liberians need to do something. We need good leadership that will restore good governance in that country. So I want to extend an invitation and an appeal to all Liberians, young, old, professional, non-professional, join the Gonglo movement, please. You know, our web address is friendsofgonglo.com. If you wish to contact us, you can send us an email to friendsofgonglo@gmail.com. Those are our contacts. We have our website. You can access us to find out more information about the kind of work we're doing. Finally, I want to invite all Liberians to join us in Atlanta on May 14th to hear Councillor Gonglo speak to us about his vision for that country, lay out his vision, and to help him raise money that will help sustain his campaign once the campaign takes full course come 2023, early in 2023. So again, our movement, our organization is open to all Liberians. Please reach out to us if you want to participate, if you want to donate, if you want to contribute, and be a part of this. Let's not sit on the fence anymore. Let's do something to change the trajectory. As Joe said, to change the generational trajectory. The young people of that country are going through too much. We shouldn't let this happen again for the next several years. So once again, Dennis, thank you so much. And I want to thank my colleagues too for making time to come on this talk show this evening. Thanks, Masa. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you so much. We're going to be taking a short break. We want to thank our viewers. And we say viewers, stay with us because we are coming with the second segment of the show, which is we're going to be discussing some legal issues taking place in our country because there were a lot of speculations going around. So we wasted no time but to get a legal mind to break it all down. So we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to be joining Anthony James and Jensen, who's going to discuss the legal issue. Thanks and God bless.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jar.
Welcome back to Focus on Liberia. Again, we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. That was the group Friends of Gonglo Global, talking about their candidate and the fundraising activity that's going to take place in Atlanta, Georgia. At this time, I want to welcome Attorney James Jensen, who is going to talk about some of the legal issues that are happening in our country today. Attorney Jensen, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thanks so much, Dennis, and I'm glad to be here. And I hope that we'll be able to add our voice to the many problems, the legal implication of what is going on in our country.
Thank you. The first place where I want for us to begin is the case at the NEC. And so at the NEC, we know that the ANC and the LP, or part of the LP representing the CPP, took the case to the NEC that the Unity Party should not feed a candidate in her own name. And that's the case that is there. We also see that the forgery case involving Mr. Alexander Cummings and members of the ANC is also going on. So these two cases are going on and things are happening. First, we have an issue where the framework document or the original copy was being subpoenaed. We also see that Mr. Joseph Numa Boakai is also being subpoenaed as a witness in the forgery case. So for the sake of our list of our audience and our listeners on Prime FM, just walk up briefly through these two cases. First, the one at NEC, and then we come to the forgery case.
Well, thank you so much again. Let me say I'm glad to be in the public sphere so that we all can help in building Liberia's democracy. And for purposes of the discussion, I'm a lawyer by the standard of the Liberian society, and I just want that to be noted. And then as we proceed further, the case at the NEC, I have been on this show before, and I've indicated that there's a lot that is going on. The National Election Commission is the constitutional body that is charged with the Constitution to conduct election. And that body is also charged to conduct their affairs, means manage the affairs of political parties and alliances so that election can be free, fair, and of course credible. So the CPP, what we all know is that they went before the Election Commission, asked that body to grant them the permit to operate as a collaborating political party, collaborating their activities throughout Liberia. And the National Election Commission, having verified all documents that were submitted before it, they saw the fit and then granted the parties concerned means to collaborate. And after an election where the CPP participated, now they are claiming that there was something fraudulent with the document. And there has been a hearing. In that hearing, the NEC has been very clear that the document is before it, until it is challenged, it is the document they respect. And there was an appeal to the Board of Commissioners, and the Board of Commissioners confirmed what the hearing officer said. So as we speak, the document that was filed by the National Election Commission by the CPP is considered as the valid document until a party of the CPP would have challenged that document. Now, coming from that document, the CPP, by and through this, the Unity Party and the ALP disagreed and went straight to the magisterial court on grounds that their document was altered. The altered document is what they want to challenge. So they are before the magisterial court, and we're following development therein. We get to know that Joseph Walker has been summoned and he has appeared and not yet testified, my understanding, if I'm correct, in that it's pending that he would testify and he will be cross-examined on what have you. So where we are right now is that there are a series of questions that are coming out. Because one of the questions is, can the Unity Party fee a candidate in the upcoming Lofa County by-election amidst the conflict? That's one issue I think many persons are concerned about. Even the Unity Party itself has issued some threats, but we are watching that process keenly. Another question is, can the magisterial court summon the election commission, a constitutional body that is charged to conduct election, and ensure that parties live up to document that is submitted before it? I think these two issues, if we have to discuss it, we might be able to give some analysis and maybe probably reach some conclusion or recommendation that those who are listening can know how to join the debate and what to do further.
Thank you. And if you can adjust your camera a little bit so that your body can
Yes.
come out.
So then my camera, not just my camera, I just looked it. Just a minute. So you have saying you have raised the issue. Let me just touch my stuff a little bit and see. Sorry.
Right.
I've done this before. Just a minute.
All right. So we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Focus on Liberia. Now, in this part 2, we're going to be discussing the court cases. So, my guest is Anthony James N. Jensen, who is joining us from the city of brotherly love. Anthony Jensen, are you there?
I'm here. I think you have to allow me in, right?
Yeah, we are not. You are on the screen, but we are not able to see you. You are invisible. So,
Okay.
in our second,
okay. Yeah, just again in a second, please.
Yeah. So in this other issue, what we see here is in the Cummings in the forgery case, former Vice President Joseph Newman Boakai has been subpoenaed, and let's start from there. So when he was subpoenaed, it took some time, and he needed some time. He appeared. The first thing he said was he couldn't swear on a photocopy of the document, so they have to subpoena the one in that Neck has, which is supposed to be the original. The next thing that we've heard in the news is it was reported on Front Page Africa that the Solicitor General met with Vice President Boakai, and so people started saying if that is legal. So we're going to be talking about all those issues, but first, the again, walk me through this whole subpoena thing. Why was he subpoenaed? Why was that necessary? And what is the relationship of the Solicitor General, who's the chief prosecutor, to witness Joseph Boakai? I mean, in regards to the case, not personal relationship.
Well, the subpoena is a means through which a court could decide to get clarity on some issues of law or some questions that will raise a doubt in the minds of the court. And the parties, either party can decide and say, wait a minute, we believe John Brown or this person has clarity or has information sufficient to provide the clarity that we all need. The purpose of justice is not to please one particular group, is to ensure that justice is done to a particular, justice is done. So in the case of the CPP, there is a document said to have been altered. So then the court, the magisterial court, is now believing, maybe on request of the prosecuting team, that indeed Joseph Boakai is the best person that they believe in, that he can say what the document is like. Now, I would think that that's a sign of defeat for the United Party and the ALP to even summon Joseph Boakai at this time around. Why am I saying that? I've said before that the National Election Commission is a constitutional body that is established by the framers of the Constitution. And by that standard, the National Election Commission has a court, has a judicial body. It means the National Election Commission has the authority to hear parties that have concerns over matters that is before that body. Now, the failure of the United Party and the ALP to have sought clarification or to have told the Election Commission that there was a document that was fraudulent before that body, from which they would have gotten evidence to run to court, now reveal itself. Joseph Boakai says that he cannot testify on a photocopy. Now, he is very right, because the document before the National Elections Commission, before the magisterial court, is not the original document. I have said that over and over on this platform and over other platforms, that the magisterial court is not the proper forum for this case to have gone from the onset. Why? Because this is an electoral issue. This is an issue that bordering political parties. A document that was sworn to, that was filed with the National Election Commission, any party that is in disagreement with that document, that party is to first go before that body and establish any fraudulent act that was done. And therefore, they would have proceeded. Based on the ruling from that court, they would have proceeded for a criminal trial. But as it stands, they are now struggling. It's like they are fishing for evidence. Now, to go before Joseph Boakai this summer, now, I do not know the intent or the specific reason why Joseph Boakai was summoned. Because if the court wanted Joseph Boakai to testify on a particular issue, Joseph Boakai should not even be telling the people, say, hey, I cannot testify on this document. As far as we're concerned, there is a specific document before the magisterial court. So if Joseph Boakai is saying, I cannot testify on this document, suggest to some of us, is that a case? If you cannot testify to this document, but this is the document that the UP, your party, meaning Joseph Boakai's party, and the ALP has run to court with. So why Joseph Boakai cannot testify to that document? Now he says he won the court to go for the document that is before the NEC. You see what the problem is? Why the party could not go for a hearing before that body to exhibit or to have challenged this document before them. Now, what we're going to be watching is, can the National Election Commission appear before the magisterial court and testify? Can the National Election Commission take the electoral document before the magisterial court? Now, I believe very strongly the National Election Commission is charged with the responsibility to conduct a credible election. That should be a body that is independent. That should be a body that conducts the affairs of political activities in that country. So if the National Election Commission will subject herself to the magisterial court, now the question will be asked, what is the constitutional provision that says the National Election Commission is not answerable to the Honorable Supreme Court? We're going to be watching out for that too. All right. So will the National Election Commission appear before the magisterial court to say, wait a minute, we have the document in our possession, you have called us to bring it, we bring it to you? Or will we watch the National Election Commission writing a forceful letter to the magisterial court to tell them, hey, wait a minute, you are going beyond your bounds. As far as we are concerned, we are a constitutional child. We are not a statutory child. We were born by the Constitution of Liberia. Therefore, any issue surrounding our activities is answerable before the Supreme Court, not you. Now, right. Some lawyer will want to ask the question, let's say, this is a criminal case. So it's a criminal case. The National Election Commission is not a party to it. But you want electoral document to be submitted before that body. I would think those who rush to the magisterial court miss the first step. That case will be thrown out by the magisterial court in the final analysis. That is my analysis. The magisterial court will definitely throw that case out no matter all of the hulu balu that's going on, because Joma Jala knows very well that he has no jurisdiction over the National Election Commission. Why if the National Election Commission says she's not going? Let's just put it that way. Why if she says, she write and say, you know why? I'm a constitutional child, I'm not answerable to you, so I am not coming. With no disrespect, but I have a duty. If you want me to appear, write the Supreme Court, let the Supreme Court make the decision whether or not we're supposed to appear.
So Anthony Jensen, there are two things here. The first thing they asked for was the original copy. They say subpoena duce tecum.
Right.
Meaning they should bring in a document. Does the magisterial court has the right to subpoena the original copy that belongs to the NEC for them to take it to the court? Do they have that right?
The law as to subpoena is a right given unto the court. But the usage of that, now, anyone that is subpoenaed, you have a right first and foremost to seek a lawyer's advice. And I think the National Election Commission has a lawyer. They're going to be looking at that request very seriously. It is not in a better mind of those who want to see a credible election, a credible electoral body to be appearing before a magisterial court on these matters. All electoral matters is handled in the case of a complaint filed by a hearing officer, meaning there is a jurisdiction. The framers of the Constitution knew that in the political sphere like this, there would be problems. So then they gave that authority to the National Election Commission to first and foremost hear all electoral matters, hear all political matters, and make a decision. And anyone dissatisfied, you go to the Board of Commissioners. Right. If you go to the Board of Commissioners and yet you are not satisfied, you go to the NEC, to go to the Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court.
Now, the issue of criminality let me put it this way: if the National Election Commission was involved in some criminal act, the Liberia National Police is responsible for the entire country to police the country. Now, the Liberia National Police can gather evidence as to acts of criminality conducted by any of the board of commissioners or anybody within the National Election Commission. In the absence of that, cases like this, in my view, it's just a political case. It should be before the National Election Commission. Had the National Election Commission decided that, look, Cummings, you all filed this document, but your colleagues have filed an alternative document that this is what you did. From all of the hearing, maybe Joseph Boga would have gone before the National Election Commission and testified to the falsity of the document before it, and then they would have found rationale, they would have found reason to say this document, indeed, from what is being said and proven from all testimony, this document is fraudulent. Therefore, we question the authenticity of the document before us. In the face of the National Election Commission would have taken some other steps as to what they would have done. Now, let me say this. The National Election Commission cannot shoot herself in the leg.
Right.
They have conducted an election. And the election conducted, we have senators in the Liberian Senate. Can the National Election Commission, for any reason, go before the magisterial court and tell them, say, you know what, this document before, or there's nothing wrong with this and that, all of this stuff, or will the National Election Commission take the entire electoral document, not just the framework document? As far as election is concerned, the National Election Commission has conducted an election. The electoral material is part and parcel, is in the file of the CPP.
Right.
Is the National Election Commission prepared to take all of the documents to the magisterial court? We want to see that. How that's going to happen? I'm curious.
Thank you.
Because I feel that the Supreme Court is the only body that the National Election Commission is answerable to. Anything contrary, it raises constitutional questions.
Right. So from what I'm hearing from you, the magisterial court cannot call in the NEC or even subpoena the original document from the NEC.
The original document for the NEC is not a criminal indictment on the National Election Commission. Joseph Boga cannot be telling the magisterial court that he cannot testify. He should testify on the document. You see, when people make these mistakes, lawyers, they should admit to all of their fundamental errors. The lawyers themselves should have first and foremost gone before the National Election Commission. I said that because this is a critical point. Even if they were to go to this, maybe they will go to the Supreme Court. If the National Election Commission refuses to go to the magisterial court, they will want to compel the National Election Commission to go. I want to see all of the dynamics. Let them go to the Supreme Court and say, you know what, we want to compare this. We want to bring the document before that is still opposition before the National Election Commission. It's not just an ordinary situation. This is a constitutional issue that we're dealing with, and we want to mix with what is now before the magisterial court. I have said this, and we always follow it. The magisterial court has no jurisdiction over the National Election Commission. Now, the issue of subpoena, why it is true the National Election the magisterial court has a right to ask a party or any citizen to go before it and testify. The Election Commission is not just an ordinary body. It's not just an ordinary citizen sitting somewhere where you can just call them. It has a special mandate, and its mandate is to ensure no political interference. There should be no judicial interference in the workings of the National Election Commission.
So are you also saying that Mr. Bwaka had no right to refuse testifying on a photocopy?
No. In fact, who determines what is a photocopy? The complainant, which I believe because that's the UP and the ARP. The complainant are the complainants saying the document that is before the magisterial court is void? Is not legitimate? Is a photocopy? Were they sound in their mind to take a photocopy to the magisterial court on the basis of want to accuse somebody for criminality? So if they are saying, oh, we can't testify to this, that's a defeat. They're shooting themselves in the leg.
Thank you. Now, here's the news story that came out and was published in Front Page Africa. It says, Solicitor General's private meeting with star witness Joseph Bwaka raises suspicion of settlement. Right? Yeah. Deal or no deal? As we all know.
I think that's just the writer didn't do well. All right, because in the first place, sometimes you don't have to go to law school. All right, there are some procedures over and over in the courtroom for Joseph Boakai being a witness in a criminal trial, or anyone for that matter. The Ministry of Justice has a statutory responsibility to prosecute cases. Not necessarily that they are a party, but any criminal case that goes to the court, the government of Liberia is prosecuting that criminal case.
Right.
So in the phase where Solicitor General is in conversation with Joseph Boakai is a normal thing. In fact, under normal circumstances, there are some tough cases where you have more than one criminal defendant. It is the right of the prosecuting team to even negotiate with one of those criminals for purposes of granting immunity, so that that person can testify on behalf of the state.
Yeah.
So in this case where Joseph Boakai is being called to subpoena, he's a criminal. I mean, the only thing that the Solicitor General shouldn't do is he cannot tell Joseph Boakai what to say. And I don't think Joseph Boakai, with all his experience in public service, he would even allow that. For political reasons, if he did that, I mean, during the time of cross-examination, there'll be a lot of questions asked him. Maybe someone will temper with him. And you know why? Not temper per se, will ask us a question. We got information that you were in consultation with the Solicitor General. We also got information that you took money from him. Maybe just some way of asking some tough questions. And if he falls short of answering appropriately, then he indict himself. But as to ordinary conversation, and another thing that I saw with that story is that the Solicitor General, Solicitor Chiefs, he's being boastful. It's like he engineered the story, because he said, I heard him saying, you know what, I told the old man when he comes, you have to meet me. And so I met him. You know, and the old man said, you know, I'm a legal guru and all of those stuff.
Walking dictionary.
You know,
walking dictionary.
You know,
Anthony Jensen, first of all, let's establish that you said there is nothing wrong with the Solicitor General meeting or having a meeting, a closed-door meeting with witness Boakai.
Right. That's what I said. Yeah, that's what I said.
Because there was a big uproar in Monrovia. I mean, you can see the front page story that say, hey, something is about to happen. This raises suspicion. You said there's no suspicion just because they are meeting.
No, there's absolutely. And I say again, besides Joseph Boakai, let's look at it in a broader context. The Ministry of Justice has that statutory responsibility to prosecute cases, criminal cases. That's a fact. We don't need to brag about that. And because the Ministry of Justice has that responsibility, when there is a witness called to testify, they have to even prepare their witness for testimony. These are all part of the practice. Now, the ordinary people wouldn't see it. Let me also say that we were even told in law school, when two lawyers are on opposite side and they are in conversation, the parties always feel that, hey, these people are just jeopardizing our case. But these things happen. What is more important is that the SG should not be in the business of taking advantage of what the statute provides for them. If it does that, we should be we expect that the Liberia National Bar Association, the court, the Supreme Court, will be monitoring all of these things. And if they find any unethical practice on the part of the SG, they can initiate, you know, some ethical punishment for him. But the issue of why he was talking to Joseph Boakai is a non-issue. Why people be talking about those things? The ordinary people would think, you know, and they should be educated, especially so those who are in the case, both parties, both lawyers. Sometimes it's better, like the Cummings lawyers, to even address this thing, say, hey, wait a minute, we have no issue with this man discussing with Joseph Boakai, because Joseph Boakai is a state witness. How do you expect Joseph Boakai to know what happened in the courtroom?
Right.
You have to be told, okay, you go to court, this is how you say it, this is why you say it, and all of those stuff. So that's not an issue. I mean, if you want to deal with the issue, go to the cross of the matter. Joseph Boakai's SG talking is no issue. It's a normal practice in the courtroom.
Thank you. I also noticed in that report when I was reading it on Front Page Africa, they quoted somebody they call an observer. It said, by this, Cephas is publicly clearly admitting to a deal being struck with JNB to have him subpoenaed. It speaks of collusion. More worrying is Cephas' revelation that JNB referred to him as a working dictionary of the law, that is, affirming or condoning judicial misconduct and excesses of Cephas. Assuming that Cephas' revelation is true, is JNB tacitly approving of harassment of the opposition by Cephas, such as the continuous disclosure of Punch FM, the arrest of Mo Ali, mine political prosecution? Please, I highlighted that for a reason. What moral grounds would JNB or UP have to call out Cephas an extreme loyalist of WIA? Should Cephas mistreat him in court, especially so that the NEC case is before the Supreme Court and the Ministry of Justice by law might be called to defend the government interest through NEC, and observer noted. With what I highlighted, my political prosecution looks to me that Mr. Cummings is saying this, and Front Page Africa is quoting him as an observer, and they start by saying collusion and all these things. What do you think? What do you make of that?
I think my political prosecution, I think they're making reference to Mo Ali. You know, Mo Ali, my understanding is he was arrested before, right?
Right.
And all of those things, there was some case, you know, what have you. But generally, the issue of collusion, there are elements of collusion. There's not just, you don't just sit down and make a story. And those who want to levy allegation must always have these facts and these education. You know, you don't just come out and say, well, there was a collusion. So what we do, okay, we're going to accuse Cephas. Cephas is, you know, trying to manipulate the trial. If Cephas goes, let's assume that Joseph Barker, that's what the Cummings lawyers should be watching all of these situations. When Joseph Barker takes a stance, they should have sufficient information as to how to drill the old man. Maybe the old man will say some things that will entangle him as to whether indeed there was a serious, you know, compromise on his part. But just to sit and say because they met, that means they did A, B, C, D. Once again, let me say, Cephas is boastful, and he wants to take some glory into this trial. People should be concerned about what has happened between Cephas and the Minister of Justice. The Minister of Justice said he has no knowledge as to what Cephas is doing in the courtroom. Now we see Cephas in the court. Is it now clear that the Minister of Justice consented for Cephas to come in the courtroom? Have they resolved the issue that was brought to the public? Those should be concerns of those who writing the stories and those who are, you know, interested in this matter. As far as meeting with Wakai, there's nothing wrong with that. If you had, for example, you had Alexander Cummings, people subpoena and appearing, Alexander Cummings lawyers will do the same. They will have to meet their lawyer and tell them, okay, ordinary people don't have ideas of what happened in the courtroom. So when they are called to subpoena, lawyers, that's what they do. I mean, you must be able to tell your lawyers, your witnesses where to sit and how to respect the judge. And when the judge is asking questions, how your demeanor should be like, all of those things will be told. When it comes to, when that person enters the bar, even Serena Seaford to win his eyes, that would be unethical.
Yeah.
Serena Seaford to speak, there will be a serious problem. So the outside appearance, so it means that Joseph Barker will not sit when, except for example, if Joseph Barker took the stand and for some reason they did not complete cross-examining him, and for any reason the court adjourns, in that situation, Cephas should not be talking to Joseph Barker. If the woman took the stance and he started to testify, and for any reason he adjourned, the court adjourned for the next day. At that point in time, if anybody saw, how you call it, Cephas with the old man, that would be a serious legal breach on the part of Cephas. But as the case stands, it's like prepare the old man to go and testify.
Thank you. Let me join my colleague Prince Momba in studio. Prince, I know this has been an uproar in Monrovia about the meeting.
Yes, but what I'm getting from the counselor, I mean, it looks strange to me that people who are lawyers and legal-minded people, we proceed in just a form, a manner that is not in the confine of the bodies of law. And so, I mean, if he's saying that the ministerial court does not have jurisdiction over the case, and all of those, I mean, the Solicitor General and other counselors from the parties involved, I agree. I mean, I just don't know what is it. But the question I want to ask him, so with this situation now, what is the best way forward? If Boga, like the one you said, Boga is saying that he cannot testify on the document that the journalist asked you that a photocopy is who determines what is a photocopy. So what do you think? What is the best way out in all of this level?
You want me to address that?
Yeah, go ahead. Say,
as I said before, everyone has the right to go to court. But sometimes the decisions that people make could just be wrong. All right. And Joseph Walker has been subpoenaed. And I have not seen the letter that was written him. The court or the lawyer may have told the court, we want clarity on this. Let us assume that the court summoned Joseph Walker to testify on a piece of information in the document that is before the court. And the man who is subpoenaed requesting the judge or the court to subpoena someone else or to subpoena a document that is not before the court. So without you being a lawyer, rationalize it in your own context. Why didn't, it's like, you get a land and you don't get a deed. Maybe you get a falsified deed on your arm. You go sue somebody, say somebody is encroaching on your land. You go there and later on you say, oh, the document that I have, this is not the right deal. Let me go and call the person who sold the land to me to bring the original deed. Why did you go to court in the first place? Why did you go to court? Yeah. Before you go to court, you must be sure that the evidence in your hand is legitimate. It's a proper document that you carry. So to carry a photocopy, now Joseph Walker is telling the public that the UP and the ALP carry a photocopy in a courtroom. You understand what I'm saying?
Right, and that's what I'm about to ask you. Where does that photocopy that is in the courtroom, where does it come from?
The photocopy, it doesn't matter, my brother. The photocopy could be even the verbatim what is on the record, what is in the possession of the National Election Commission. The fact that it's a photocopy, and that if the original has gotten missing, if the court is informed that the original document is missing, then you can use the photocopy in a circumstantial way. But other than that, when we all Liberians and people all around the world are aware that the document is lying down with the National Election Commission, it was the duty of the lawyer for the United Party ALP to ensure that they get that document. And how to get it? They were to file their first complaint before the National Election Commission for a hearing. And they proved that the document was never the correct document. Therefrom, that document would have been in the possession of the magisterial court, meaning they would have filed a complaint on the basis of that document. Having they failed to do that, Joe Majala is not wasting their time, maybe just to draw them, saying that they didn't know what to do, draw all of them into the party. At the end of the day, you will dismiss that case. Okay, because I don't see no reason why. Again, that's another segment of the trial that's come about. The National Election Commission is being called to testify. So let's watch and see what the National Election Commission is going to say. But I feel the National Election Commission is not going to go before the magisterial court. To do what? To get an electoral document before it? Also, suppose the election tomorrow, somebody said there was a foul play. Where do we carry the document to a magisterial court? That's not what the framers intended. The framers wanted the Election Commission to be very independent, to know what they needed to do. The why they gave them the power to hear cases, political matters. Read the Constitution is very clear. All political parties, all their matters and everything should be cognoscible before the National Election Commission.
Thank
The
you.
line of criminality would have been established. Someone the Election Commission would have established that, hey, something is fundamentally wrong with these people. There and then, they would have taken that ruling and run to court and go, prosecute somebody. But right now, you see, they want the document now. Oh, you don't get the document initially, but you went to magisterial court. You accuse somebody of being a criminal on a photocopied document. What do you think the court must say?
Thank you. Let me go to Prince again. Prince, it's time to announce our phone lines. So if we have callers or you have questions.
Yeah, so let me just ask this one, and then we go to the phone lines. And so, what I wanted to know, the information now in Monrovia here is that the NEC chairperson, Director Brand Ansana, appeared in court today. She took the witness stand today, and then the cover page of the framework document that was submitted by the parties. That is presented in court. It was a photocopy, and the judge asked her whether she has different document that was filed by the NEC rather from the parties. She said that was the one that she received, and there are two different dates on that document, and those are some of the concerns that the Unity Party and the AFP are raising, that the document was submitted on the 10th of July, I think so, and then it was notarized on the 14th of July. I don't know what I have any idea on that, and it's just a situation. I mean, what do you think can be done?
So you are saying the NEC chair, Madame David Brown Lasana, went to court today and testified, but the document she presented is photocopy.
Yeah. And then those in the court, the judge asks whether she has any other copy that looks like, that is the original, the one that was filed by her was the one she took to the court.
Now, you see, if that information he's giving is true, the NEC has subjugated or have submitted her own constitutional authority under the jurisdiction of the magisterial court. She's on duty to do what the court wants her to do. Because in the first place, I didn't know that she has even appeared. I didn't know whether her lawyer told her to go there. So if she's there, even they won the last election record, what can she say? So we have to watch and see what's going to happen. But I feel strongly she should have listened to her lawyers. And if her lawyers told her to go there, I wouldn't have told her to go there, honestly. All right. So we watch out and see what is going to happen. But I wouldn't think, and I still maintain that the National Election Commission should subject herself to the magisterial court in that form of manner. Now, the information the Prince is giving, if it is true that she went with, is that what, 2 pages of the framework document? If that is true, why would a chairperson desiring to go and testify and would take only 2 pages of a framework document to court? So like a lot of things happen, and we can't say much, because when people are in this kind of a terrain, they need the best of legal mind to tell them what to do and what not to do. I don't think now what they are doing I'm afraid that the chairperson of the National Election Commission may be asked to release that post. Meaning there might be political tension to tell, say, hey, she's not qualified, she's not competent. Because in this kind of a minor case, I will tell it, this is a political case. In fact, it is you that you are presiding over this matter. So when you're telling us, okay, they have subpoenaed me, let me go there. Now they say the document you brought, according to the Prince, the document you brought is not the document we want. We want this document. Will she say, no, I don't have the document? Will she go about now and say, wait a minute, I make a mistake, I should not appear over there? Well, we don't know the detail, where she appeared, what were some of the questions asked, and whatever happened. I hope what Prince is saying is true. That she appeared, and then there were some...
She appeared in court today. And then the information is that the framework document, the cover page carries
But Prince, let me ask you, let me just ask you, Prince, so when was she subpoenaed? Because Joseph Braga appeared today. When was she subpoenaed? Because Joseph Braga appeared today, right? And he said he cannot testify on the photocopy.
They all have been subpoenaed by the court. I think she was subpoenaed sometime last week.
Okay, we didn't get that.
Nothing to witness today. She to the witness and those are the information we're getting.
Thank you, Prince. Thank you, Prince. What do we have callers? Because quickly we have like.
I have not announced the number. Let me announce the number. So you can call us on 0770-1051, 0770-1051. If you've been following, or you can also call this authority line 0777-05-3336, 0777-05-3336. The numbers once more are 0770-1051, 0770-1051, or 0777-05-3336, 0777-05-3336.
Thank you. Here we have someone from the ANC Global. He said the head of NDC today said under oath that the document it has is the original document. Sometimes we get confused now what this original means.
So I have a caller on the line, so let me take this one.
Yeah.
Dennis.
Go ahead.
Good evening. I'm good. So the line doesn't look. I'm asking my colleague from the US. Dennis, are you getting the caller?
Not really. Let the caller say something.
Go ahead, make your point. Go ahead, Jerry. Thank you.
Thank you. Prince, please go ahead and tell us and what he said because we didn't get anything.
Wow. Thank you so much. So, honestly, you did not get the caller you said.
No, we didn't get anything at all. So that would be it for calls. Just tell us what he said.
All right. So he just, I think he's expressing disappointment into the NEC that the NEC should be the body to investigate and come up with finding into electoral disputes. But if the NEC will be conducting itself going to court, it worries him ahead of 2023. So those are the concerns he's raising. Let me try this one and see whether you can get this one. Good evening, caller. All right. Good evening. Yeah. I'm good. Yeah, where you come from? Well, the next thing I get them as well.
Not really, but let it go ahead. That should be the last call.
Okay, go ahead, brother. Make your point. You what? In who? CPP or CCC? Why are you disappointed in CPP? I only taking to the point on the United Party, the calling comment rule and never interview. So calling rule yeah. I really support again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for making your point.
Thank you. Go ahead and summarize that for us, and that will be it for callers as we draw the curtains.
He said he's disappointed in the CPP because he watched an interview from Spoon TV. Supporters of the United Party were calling Alexander Kumi roll. So that is his disappointment that the opposition is not united. That's the point you made.
Thank you. Yeah, two views here. This one is from Valentine Pressure. Said the two did show that the document was submitted on that Friday. NEC was closed on the weekend. At some point of time, they realized that it was not notarized, so ANC had to get the document from NEC to go and notarize it and submit it back to NEC. Then Yankwe Boma, who is an ANC guy, said the two dates on the document is a non-issue. The document was submitted to the clerk of the NEC on July 10. She submitted the document on the same day to her boss. But 4 days later, the NEC boss called Secretary General Toh and requested the document to be notarized. SG Toh immediately went there and notarized the document and refiled it. Anthony Jensen, we are about to close. Let me get your take on the colors and those comments.
Firstly, let me start with the person who said Alexander Cummings was being called Roro. When you have politics mixed with law, these are some of the backlashes that come about. I think when Joseph Walker appears, there were some people with placards, and there was different, readings. So I'm sure that was the reciprocal action on the part of the Walker and the people. So these things are all politics, but I think the ordinary people are too much into these things, and I'm not sure whether people are educated enough to know what is going on. Why you are hungry, why you are not feeding yourself, you can't go to the hospital. Even as this case drag on, there are some people who have land cases and all of those stuff. They are not having the time for their cases to be heard on time. Where you have the big guys, people are all occupying the time and the environment. So when these things are happening, the parties are all, especially lawyers, should tell their client, and hey, you all control your partisans. The courtroom is a place where you have come to seek justice. That's one thing I would say. On the concern of the other party as to the National Election Commission, not using herself, I will also agree that the National Election Commission should be a body, constitutional body that has a lot of responsibility, and people should be even mindful how they conduct themselves, because elections bring about government, elections bring about officials. So the way you conduct yourself, people are going to ask questions as to all of the commissioners. What are they doing? Are they capable of conducting elections, free and fair elections? So in this kind of a situation, it's always good. Consultation should always be a hallmark for those who are charged with a constitutional responsibility. I very frown on the chairperson of the National Election Commission to have gone, to this kind of hearing. And now she's being asked to bring other documents. Now, we didn't get this information. I don't know why the media did not catch that. If she was someone and she was written earlier, why the media could not have said that? Because there's something that's happening. Then as you sit right here, you're having these discussions, you are helping public opinion, you're helping people to form their decisions. This is all part of the democratic process. When people are not informed, sometimes they take missteps. And at that, it hurts the country, so we believe. We believe that
we carry on all the local media institutions here in Liberia. I don't know why you're not aware of that.
Okay, I really don't know. I don't know what Dennis said. If you heard it, then we all needed to know whether the chairman of the National Election Commission, was subpoenaed, and then she was asked to appear. And now some of these letters should have also been made public because people are subpoenaed on specific accounts, come and testify on this. Let us assume the National Election Commission went before the magisterial court. What did she say? Now we are hearing again whether these are all factual information that she has been told to bring original document because what is before them is not original. Now these are all mixed information. If a media person had the information, I'm sure they may have written it. I read the front page too. I didn't read anything like, the NCB summer, And so again, whatever the situation is, the crux of the matter or my view is that this case should have started with the National Election Commission. The hearing officer should have sat on this case. The issue of whether two different dates. Now, we are not saying here there's nothing wrong with the document. That's not my argument here. It's very likely that something is fundamentally wrong with the document. All right? But how to have proceeded, I differ with the procedure that was taken by the lawyers of the UP and the ALP. I strongly believe, and that's my opinion, if I was the one to have started that case, I would have gone before the National Election Commission. I would have filed a complaint. I would have challenged the document before the NEC. The NEC ruling would have been the document I would have relied on to sue Alexander Cummings for act of criminality. But to leave the NEC out and run to the magisterial court raises issue right now. The issue now is the document that I couldn't go for. The court is helping the other party to fish for evidence against one of the party. And I don't think that's how it should work. To the point where the National Election Commission also is into this matter. Now, any party, maybe the ANP, the ANC lawyers, will even challenge the entire ruling that will come from there on some of these things. Look, first and foremost, the National Election Commission has a constitutional duty. She's a constitutional child. In fact, I shouldn't go deep into that because the parties know what to do in case where somebody, taking the wrong route. Whatever the situation is, Liberia, as we stand, we should be all hopeful to have a multi-party democratic practice in that country. Whatever goes wrong, there are procedural steps. There is no mistake where the Freemans set up a National Election Commission. I was reading the entire provision on the Constitution, what the duty examine the National Election Commission. When you read that, you will see how forceful an election commission is supposed to be. I don't know whether any Hammer would have gone to sit and be on some magisterial court judge on this account. The first thing maybe a different commissioner would have done was to have consulted with the Supreme Court, because that's where the National Election Commission should go.
Yeah, thank you.
But albeit, that's the situation. We monitor everything and see whatever going to happen. My own prediction is this case will just be thrown at the end of the day, because the National Election Commission cannot indict herself, cannot say the document is fraudulent. Why did she accept a fraudulent document in the first place? Why did she conduct election on that document? Let's ask the question. So should we ask all of the senators to get out? Oh yes, if I'm ordered into the party, if the National Election Commission say the document is fraudulent, then of course we will challenge the setting of all of the senators that got elected on that document and ask all of them to leave and conduct another round of by-elections for their positions. So CPP has put herself in a mess. That's what my conclusion would be.
Yeah.
Now they should put themselves,
that's a big mess.
Put their pride away. How can you resolve these matters? There's nothing wrong for these individuals who want to run the countries. Liberia has a bigger problem. If you can't resolve this thing, then why do you want to be president? Why? If you guys cannot sit around the table and resolve this simple matter, why would you want to be president? The country has bigger problem than what you have before you.
Yeah, that's a big disappointment there.
Very well. The National Election Commission is slipping into politics.
Thank you.
Hold herself responsible, not be capable of conducting election.
Thank you. Tomorrow, not tomorrow. Tomorrow on Tough Talking Thursday, we're going to have the CDC, opposition, and the road to 2023. Now, what will it take to win election 2023? Will it be message, money, mentors, or morale? Join me tomorrow at 7 p.m. for another edition of Tough Talking Thursday. Then on Sunday, we're going to have Minister Anita Wanti and Miss Odell Gibson will be here, my guests. They became Zogos. They live on drugs. Now they are out. Their amazing stories will be here on Sunday at 11. Then on Saturday, Mr. Ansoni Sia will be here with the Unity Party, strong Unity Party member, Mr. George Lobo, and they're going to be discussing former Vice President Joseph Numa Boakai, the leader, and his 2023 presidential bid. You don't want to miss it. Well, this is how we want to end it tonight, but we're not going to close without getting an input from our guests here tonight. Anthony Jensen, your closing comment.
Well, thank you so much for you and your team for all efforts geared towards helping Liberia's democracy. It works well when the media can play a pivotal role to make sure that the right thing is done in a democratic society. So I think what of what you guys are doing, sacrificing your time, your little resources, worth commendation, and we think each and every one of you should do just that. And I think the independent position you're putting yourself in, I listen to you guys, is a way of helping Liberia in a very meaningful way. The media in Liberia, they all should take an independent position so that when all of these political noise is taking place, at the end of the day, people will see truth and live by it. As for this case with the CPP, we still think the CPP could be a formidable force, but I'm also knowledgeable to know that when the CPP is very forceful, that would be some fear will step in from the ruling party. And because of that, the ruling party will be relaxed to see all of these things going. Not that they are into this case, in my view, but the moment that the CPP continue to drag us off this way, that would be, a joyful moment for the ruling party. Now, Liberians, in my view, are seeking for true leaders. So when people conduct themselves in a way that raises a concern, in fact, people will start to think, oh, these people, what can they do? Okay, we know there are other names in the political sphere. We also watch for those names and see whether Liberia can begin to be better comes 2023. Not to see people with, a situation of, getting involved into political rigmarole, because if it's happening now, just on a phrase of a document, and you cannot handle it, we got to be afraid. How are you going to handle the country's problem? So thank you so much for inviting me. And as I said, we will all be available. Liberia has an interesting history, and the history is not too good so far. We're concerned. We have seen other modern nations, and so we believe that Liberia should be better. As of now, there shouldn't be political parties crying on the field. There are bigger issues surrounding the world. We are monitoring Ukraine. We are monitoring other things that are happening. What political parties are doing. Why if there was nuclear weapon today, you will not be talking about CPP document. Are Liberians informed? Do they know what to do in the case of those things? Somebody will say, oh, it's not possible. You can't say it's not possible because you're not following the news. So political parties should always be there for the bigger picture. What can you discuss? Put your people in a position to know that you know what to do. When you start crying little on these kind of little things, they need a bigger picture. People will begin to ask questions. Even those political parties or people of other bigger countries, they want to see you struggling over simple issue, and you're not joining them, even to speak about what is happening globally. They don't take you serious. So our people, those who want to get in politics, should know when to get involved, when to pick up an issue is a very important thing. Once again, thank you so much. And as I said, Liberia must get better than what it is. People should know to pick up the issues, discuss them. There's nothing wrong for people to disagree. But when you disagree, you must have a limit of your disagreement. You must reason. If he can't reason, it's like I don't even think Joseph Braga and Alexander Cummings are talking. And it shouldn't be that way. You can disagree bitterly. At the end of the day, call, take a phone. Oh, Joe, how are you, man? I saw you today. Oh, I mean, you appear while your people are calling me, roll. Is that how we want to run the country? Crack some jokes. And at the end of the day, say, hey, wait a minute, Joe. We have come a long way. I posted something in a few days. It's like two of them, knocking legs together. It means then they all belong to some kind of a group. So why are they compromising all of those things now and allow people to drag them further into this kind of conflict?
That's exactly true.
They can resolve this matter. There's nothing big. If you want to run as a president, you must reach a point where you say, hey, wait a minute, I have heard. Or this person say, I have heard. Okay, God, let's forget about who is right, who is wrong. Let's sit together and see what we can do again. Can we drop another thing like that? The ball will be good. The people looking for an alternative. Don't confuse them further. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and thank you very much for appearing on such a very, very short notice. We always value and appreciate your time. Prince?
Yes. So the message, thanks to the guest. Of course, it was very much interesting. This is what we do here, Focus on Liberia and Farm FM. We'll bring all of the experts on the show so that the expert opinion can give us the insight, and our listeners can enjoy what comes out of it. So there is a thanks and a thank to all of you as we close off for this discussion tonight.
Thank you, Prince. Again, Anthony Johnson, we want to thank you. We want to thank our viewers and our listeners all over the globe. At this time, we're going to close with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." Whether you believe the CPP is still formidable to unseat President Weah, or President Weah is going to get a second term because of the CPP disintegration, or Gonglo is going to be the X factor to steal the show and benefit immensely to become president based on the CPP collapse. Whatever your belief is, we are all Liberians, and we must do whatever it takes to make our country the greatest and the glorious land of liberty. Good night, and God bless you.
We are Liberians.